Hey, what's the deal, YouTube? It's your girl, Miss Honey. Welcome back to the channel, you guys. Welcome back. It is your girl, Miss Honey, here for a Queen Sugar review. As you can see, I am dog, I say tired, okay? You guys have no idea how much I do in a day. Anywho, we are here for a quick review of Queen Sugar. I have decided that I needed to compartmentalize this episode. If you are a avid follower of my channel, you know I've already talked about the George Floyd situation on my channel before in great detail, and as well as Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor, which all kind of happened right around in the same time period, give or take a few weeks or so, right? If you are new to my channel, welcome. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you like what you see. Please don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. You know, it's like saying, hey, Miss Honey. And please comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. And also go check out my video that I did on George Floyd. Also, if you're an avid follower of my channel and you also check my devotions out that I do in the morning time, you know, I have had some challenges with, you know, my love of the Lord and the treatment of my people and how the Lord is or is not involving himself in that. So, yeah. Anyway, we're not going to go down that rabbit hole, but maybe a little bit we'll go down it. So, we're going to talk about 4 characters here for this Queen Sugar episode. And you guys know it's not names for the episodes, it's dates, which I guess is supposed to be like a marker of time when the episode falls into actual history. But this is basically the George Floyd episode. We came off this really high. Even though the show is in the middle of you know, COVID itself. So it's walking us through that whole period of time. And, you know, in real time here, we're a year, just a little over a year out. We had just gone on lockdown, quarantine, when this thing happened with George Floyd, which was, I can't even say it was one of the most horrendous things I've ever seen, because it's all so horrible to me. Like, it's something it just knocks the wind out of you to see someone physically lose their life on TV. And I know we see it in movies and all that stuff, but like in that moment, you know that it's not real. But when you physically see someone get killed like that, I mean, it's really hard on you. You know, for me, it's hard on me. Anyway, so we're going to talk about Micah. Charlie did such a good job just embracing Micah. She knows her son, and she knows his heart, really. And she just met him with these open arms because, he had gone through something himself as it pertains to the police. You guys remember, this was like episode or season 2 or season 3 when they moved down to NOLA from California, I believe they were living in, and Micah had an incident where the officer put a gun in his mouth, right? And he struggled. He really struggled with that the weeks and months after that. And so now fast forward to this whole George Floyd situation, and we see where Charlie is greeting him with open arms, right? She just wants to draw him close to her and just try to give him a little bit of her strength, a little bit of her comfort, right? And we see where Michael cycles through this heartbreak and disbelief, and then this anger, this high fevered pitch anger that we saw from so many young individuals, which is why they took to the streets, which is why they protested so vehemently, which is why they were knocking about on social media without, I don't want to say shame, because shame isn't a word I'm looking for, but without restraint, right? Like they were using all of their resources in order to speak out and say, hey, this isn't right, and this has to stop. And what's so funny is that I can't remember who was killed first, if it was Breonna Taylor or Ahmaud Arbery, but Ahmaud Arbery's death, for those of you guys who don't know, is the young black man in South Georgia, just on a jog. He's an avid runner. He's on a jog and through this neighborhood, and 3 neighbors run him down and shoot him dead in the street with a shotgun. And it's so funny because I can still see him get shot and then think to turn and run and just fall dead, And so that was kind of not talked about as much. I mean, we were really just trying to get the fires of just get that information out there and get people fired up about it, right? And we had the Breonna Taylor situation where here's a person that's in their own home, right? Definitely minding their own business, which it doesn't really matter because Letitia Jeffries, I think that was her first name, was playing a video game with her nephew in her own home, was shot through the window by police. So both them anyway. So, but the young people really showed up and really protested, and it went on for a great long while. We're talking about months of protesting. Like this thing really rocked this nation. I mean, even from an international standpoint, there was this shock, this disbelief, this grief, this agony, and Micah is reenacting that for us, that whole Black Lives Matter feeling. He's giving us that just through his youth and his outrage. He has put together a protest in the city, and Charlie doesn't know. Charlie doesn't want him to protest. Charlie doesn't want him to feel the outrage that he feels. She wants him to contain it because her fear is for him. Her fear is for him, right? Because he gets a phone call when the protest starts. after George Floyd was killed, and he's there on the phone with his buddy, and he's like, yeah, heck yeah, burn that ish down, burn it down, right? And Charlie walks in on that, and she tries to scold him, give him a little chastisement, that we don't behave that way. This is not what we do. We need to vote and follow peace and forgive and turn our cheeks. Like I get what she's saying, I do, but I feel Micah. I feel Micah. I understand what he's saying. Like, none of it matters. If a black life doesn't matter, none of it matters. If a black life is inconsequential, I don't really know how one makes a building consequential. Like, anyway. And so by the end of the episode, Charlie as she's done with Micah throughout this season, she has to make this shift where she is not ruling over him as his mom, but she's coming alongside of him as a support system. Not in judgment, but in concert. You know what I'm saying? Let me lead you, let me guide you, and let me keep my eyes on you and make sure you cool, right? She asks him for a shirt because he's got a shirt that's got, a protest type slogan on it. And she asked him if he has another one, and he says, "Are you serious?" And she's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, like he's down with his mom going with him, Again, he's the one that set the protest up. And this is not Micah's first time, if I'm not mistaken, setting up something like this. I think Nova kind of stoked it in him after what happened to him, this need for protest and to speak out. And there's this moment where she says, something about peaceful, and he was like, peaceful and protest don't really go together, right? Like, and I get that. So Micah is really representing the Black Lives Matter portion of 2020, and just all of the outrage and the anger, the rage, the sheer rage they feel, and helplessness against what is such blatant brutality, right? And then there's Nova, right? Nova, when we first see her, she is doing her prayer. And, she's just trying to get herself together, like just trying to center herself, calling on the ancestors and just trying to pray and just, get her peace together, calm herself, this type of thing. And she goes into her computer, and on her phone, she set the timer for 8 minutes, 46 seconds. And for the 8 minutes and 46 seconds, she just rattles off a large number of black people. I won't even say all, that have been killed at the hands of the police. And it is a lot. It's not even all. It's still a lot. I think what upset me the most in this moment, in this scene, was that some of those names I had forgotten. And I feel guilty forgetting, about people. But it happens so much that you do have to compartmentalize it, right? And in compartmentalizing it, you take your eyes off of it, you take your heart off of it, you take your grief off of it, your emotions and your passions off of it, and then like that, it's poof, it's gone, right? And here's my thing with Nova. Nova is in a relationship with a Caucasian male, and he also has his Caucasian daughter staying there. And after she says all the names and the timer beeps, she just takes a deep breath and she breaks. She breaks down and she weeps and she cries, and there is this wailing that comes out of her spirit. I know exactly. I knew it. It was like calling my name. Like, it's so familiar to me. It's so familiar to me because I know in my prayer time I have wailed, you know, just in mourning, just because it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. And the thing of it is you still have to go to work, and you still have to go to school, and you still have to feed your kids, and you still have to see them at the meetings, at PTA meetings, and work, and in traffic, and in the stores, and they're everywhere. They're all on TV. They handle our finances like it's just whiteness everywhere. And anyway, you can't even mourn publicly. You can't even be sad publicly. You know, you can't even tell people why it is you're upset. You know, depending on what kind of job you have. But I digress. Anyway, she's living with Calvin, who's a white man. And she immediately goes into this place where she can't confront these white officers. She can't confront whiteness within itself. You know what I mean? She can't just go out there and be like, hey, you white person, come here, let me tell you something. You know what I'm saying? She can't. But here's a white man living in her house, and she could give it to him. She could give him what for. And because he has said that he loves her, and he has said that he is in it for the long haul, he's got to just take this. He's got to just take these licks. He's just got to take this anger. And I think this was my frustration with Nova, is that you knew getting into this situation, one, that this man was married, okay, and she did end it with him, and then he left his wife and he came to her, you know, chose her. You knew this, and you also knew this guy was a police officer. You knew it. And he had told her some things in his experience as a police officer in his rookie days. And she ends up throwing it in his face towards the end in front of his daughter. Like, it was kind of brutal the way she did it. He's trying to be slightly comforting, but he's in this really awkward place where if he says too much or he doesn't say enough, he can't ignore, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's in this weird space. But you both knew that this is what it is. Like, you both knew there were these differences, okay? And that these differences never, ever go away. They never go away, Nova. They never go away. They will never go away. It doesn't go away if you got a white friend for 50 years. It doesn't go away. Your differences are always there and they're always apparent. It's just how you deal with them, right? How you accept them. That's what it is. But she's punishing him. She's punishing him for all white people. Right? That's what I mean when I say you grieve inside your home, inside your car, inside your heart and soul, but you know better than to be that way at your job. You know better than to be that way out in public, because these are the types of things that could get you killed. Could get you fired. Could mess up your brand. If you got a brand, right? So she's trying to work on this article, and this article is really about the people that watched it all and did nothing. Um, I personally can see why the black people didn't do anything, because they would be the first ones that guns were drawn and they were just shot, and then they just deal with it later. I mean, if you tripped and fell in their way, you could get shot, right? But Caucasians who got balls of steel, man, balls of steel. You know, I've seen videos where they literally take the police officer on a Mr. Toad's Wild Ride foot race, around and around the car, slinging them, knocking them down, taking their gun, taking their taser, all of that. Nothing. Nada. Nada. Right? Nada. If the police go in a building after a black man, I give it, it's a good 95% chance that he's not coming out of there. I'll only give, and I'm being very, very generous. So, Nova is making Calvin pay, and she's taking it out on him. Now, he's trying to watch TV, which I've said this in someone else's video. I just don't understand why Calvin isn't working somewhere. He's not doing security anywhere. He's just sitting around Nova's house. I mean, he's cooking, and he's taking care of her, and he's obviously sexing her up. But I'm like, are you keeping him, Nova? Are you keeping this man? Like, I just don't understand why he don't leave the house and go do something. Like, why you ain't working on something? It's weird. It's odd. You're not even doing security somewhere. Like, what's going on? Anyway, he's sitting there watching TV, and his daughter walks up, and they're going to watch TV together, and she's got like a bowl of popcorn, and Nova stomps right in there, and she wants to know if he felt ashamed looking at those men kill George Floyd. Looking at those men, did he feel shame? And he was like, no. She said, well, black people inherently feel a sense of shame, and it's because we're treated as a collective. One person robs, we're all thieves. She went through the whole thing, and we all can relate, because I can remember even as a child, and I was born in the 70s, in the 80s, late 70s, 80s. I remember sitting in front of the TV with my family and saying, please don't let him be black. 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 And this was as a child. So you didn't want him to be black, because then we all are held accountable, right? But he didn't feel any shame, because he was like, I didn't do it. He's completely disconnected to it. Now, Nova felt like he was completely disconnected to it because that's a part of white privilege, and maybe it is. Or maybe he's completely disconnected to it because it's not something that he would do, right? And like she said, she said he does have the benefit of treating himself as a separate individual from these other cops, even though he himself was a police officer. And the daughter agrees with Nova. The daughter sees Nova's point of view, and the daughter is able to empathize with Nova. And so she goes back into her office, stomps off. Like, this is the beginning of it. So the daughter makes something to eat. Chelsea, I think her name is. And she brings it in, and they're, excited to have dinner and excited to go on about their way. And Nova is there sitting at the dinner table, but she's watching the latest on the George Floyd situation and the protests. And he said, you can pause that and you can watch it later. You can record it, And she says, no, I want to keep up with it real time. And he's starting to get a little irritated because he doesn't really want to talk about Black Lives Matter anymore. He really doesn't want to talk about the George Floyd situation anymore. He probably feels like it's a lose-lose situation. Like, he's going to be darned if he does or darned if he doesn't. And he just wants to have a happy dinner and just go on about his way. And that's the problem. The problem is that it is becoming increasingly harder for us, especially the empathetic ones of us, compassionate ones of us, those who feel deeply, to go on, to go back to business as usual. I personally feel like I have PTSD because I see videos where people are, on Twitter, they're in their car and they get pulled over by the police, and it's just this moment where they're going to school the police, and I just have this sense of panic. I'm like, just get this man your license and your registration and just get home. Like, I understand you're going to school him on the laws and all of this, but I just feel like any second this man's going to get done talking with you and he's going to want to shut your mouth with a bullet. And I remember seeing this video. It was out of a couple of months or so ago, where this woman, this person had ordered a birthday present for their son, and the woman who delivered the package, they left a note and $100 for this woman to dress up in this outfit and surprise the son as he got home from school. And you could see neighbors backing out of their driveway, and she's going through this box on the front porch, and now she's got this envelope full of money, and she goes and puts this whole outfit on, and everybody was like, oh, that's so touching. I was like, what the duck? What was she thinking? What was she thinking? What was she thinking? It didn't even have to be a police. Like, the police were probably on their way, but it didn't even have to be the police. Like, a neighbor can come out of their house and kill a black man. A civilian can come out of their house with a gun and kill you as a black person and never answer for it. Never answer for it. Like, you took a huge risk. That's all I could think about was, lady, please leave this money in this outfit and go on about your job. Like, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do this. We're inherently kind. We're inherently forgiving, especially of others. Not as forgiving of our own people, but of others. And I get it. I get Nova is shifting in this place, but at the same time, Nova, you were not built for this man. You were not. You were not created for this man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry. Not you, Nova. Now, I'm not saying all black women. I'm just saying, Nova, you got too much texture for this smooth slate. You just do. You got too much depth. You got too much empathy. You're an empath. You're a healer. You're holistic. You're connected to the earth. This man comes from a people that could give a rat's rump about the deeper things of life. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And she's frustrated, and I'm like, it's the house that Jack built. It's the house that Jack built. In this dinner, I'm rambling on, but in this dinner, she senses that he's annoyed with the fact that she is still absorbed in this whole George Floyd thing, and she blurts out in front of his daughter, "You stood by watching, didn't you, and did nothing? How did you feel when you stood by and watched your fellow police officers beat a black boy and you didn't do anything?" And he is his legs are knocked from underneath him, and the daughter's like, Dad, you did that? And he was like, this was when I was a rookie. And he tells the whole story about it. And he said he vowed that he would never do that again. And just a series of other things. And Nova was like, why wouldn't it be nice if the black boy could go back and redo it? And it was just, it was this moment, where she was just not letting up on him, not taking her foot off of his neck. George Floyd, she was giving it to him. Not in the same manner, but she was not letting him get a word in edgewise. She wasn't letting any of his privilege go. It couldn't run free up in there with her. She wasn't having it, right? I don't know how I feel about it. I feel like I understand where Nova is coming from. I understand her having this post-traumatic energy about it. Like, it is unsettling. But at the same time, this is the man that you chose. This is the man that you chose. And you passed up numerous African Americans, male and female, because old girl that she was doing a lot of her protesting and stuff with, that was a woman of color, but everybody got passed up. You had this undying love for this man. Now, my question for you is, you ask him why he loves you if he's fetishizing you. At the same time, Nova, why do you love him? Are you fetishizing him? These are questions you're going to have to ask yourself. These are questions you're going to have to deal with. I know me personally, I have grown increasingly more tired of white skin, of looking at Caucasian people, of them being everywhere I go, of them always being in charge, of always having to adjust myself around them a little bit just so I can get what I need to get and get on out of there. Whether it be a paycheck or a coupon, a tank of gas, or whatever, right? Hollywood. I think Hollywood for me, it has invoked how I felt immediately after it. He and Nova, the whole situation. Hollywood is angry. Hollywood can empathize. He is very similar to a George Floyd in that he's a big man. He's a man who had just lost his mom. And we know that George Floyd, one of his last words outside of I Can't Breathe was mama. And Hollywood is dealing with it on this really, really, really literal level, right? Like, everything he's doing it with a sense of anger. And this is familiar to me because I can remember not only not being able to sleep, but just having this sense of paranoia, just worry. It's constantly praying for my family, the male members of my family, constantly, and just being, hyper vigilant about it. It just changed everything for me. It changed everything for me. I don't even know how to explain it. Like, the shows I watch, I did Your Honor, and I'm glad I did do Your Honor, but if you saw my review for Your Honor, you can hear it. You can hear it. You can hear it. You just get sick of white people. And the fact that it goes unpunished is just heartbreaking. The fact that we're the only ones really outraged is heartbreaking. It really is. just to have to come to terms with how little you matter. It's a hard pill to swallow. It is difficult. Anyway, and Vi finds a gun. You know, she knows that Hollywood is upset, but Hollywood is not just upset, but Hollywood is also coming off of his mom dying. So he's already got a hair trigger on him, right? And she's underestimating his grief. She's underestimating how heartbroken he is about this. She's underestimating how it has affected him. It's affected everybody. Her and Prosper talk about it. Prosper's trying to get his mind off of it. She's upset about it. But Hollywood, as a black male of a certain age, it's triggering for him. He's already in a place of grief. It's triggering for him. And he is in mode. He is in war mode. He is in, if they come up in here and mess with me and mine, this what I'm going to do. And if I lose my life doing it, as long as I protected me and mine, it's worth it. It's not kamikaze. It's just this place where you realize it's you or them. It's you or them. He's in a it's you or me mode. It's me and mine or you and yours. And I promise you, me and mine, if I got anything to say about it, it's not going to come out wanting. This is Hollywood. Well, she finds a gun in his toolbox. And she is pissed. She is upset. He promised her. He's had it the whole time they've been married. Obviously, he's not a man that just pulls out a gun, because if he did, he would have pulled one out on her no good, low down ex-husband. Remember him from a couple of seasons back? Oh, yeah, he pushed the envelope. He wanted to get it. So, but, Aunt Vi feels like he's a liar. He's being dishonest. And she don't understand what George Floyd got to do with him being dishonest with her about a gun. Really, Vi? You that separated from what's going on? Like, I don't... Anyway. My daddy got so many stories where him having his gun on him, his shotgun on him, saved his life. And was able to get people to move on about their business and leave him alone. Remember, my dad is a hunter. My dad's a fisherman. So he always had to have a gun on him, because he was always pulling off somewhere, going down to the fishing hole, throwing a pole in. You know what I'm saying? With them long hours in the summer, he get off work early and he go down to the Chattahoochee. Well, he had to always be ready, because you don't know who gonna walk up on you. You don't know. And anyway, so Vi was upset, and we saw this scene where Hollywood expresses to her the similarities that he saw between himself and George Floyd. And it was such a palatable moment. Even when he called Ra on his honeymoon and told him about it. You could hear in the phone call how upset he was. He wasn't even thinking about he was disturbing their honeymoon. He had to tell his buddy. He had to see if his buddy saw what he saw, was feeling what he was feeling. The outrage that he was feeling, he wanted to talk with his buddy about it. And that is something I can always remember, just from back then. It was just all that we were talking about. It was all that we were saying. It was all that we were discussing. It was everything. It was the topic of every dinner conversation. It came up in every phone call. Like, what was going on with Arbery, Taylor, and Floyd was on everybody's lips, right? I mean, they were kneeling at the Capitol. People were, it was white people protesting, black people protesting, Hispanic people. Like, people were outraged. And it was city after city after city after city shutting down freeways. Like, this intolerance was felt for a very long period of time in comparison to how long we normally do things, right? Or deal with things. So Hollywood's it was just very, very moving. And it was this, in this moment, I think Vi could connect with just how scarred and wounded her husband was behind this. How deep. He doesn't even want to have the spot open anymore. Like, he doesn't even care about doing the spot anymore. It doesn't seem to matter to him, because as far as he's concerned, he's in a fight for his life. Like, how dare you have time to focus on your dreams when you got to keep yourself alive? You got to keep your family alive. You got to keep your friends alive. This is how Hollywood's thinking, right? And I mean, ain't Vi's worried about him. It's kind of like Rambo. Y'all remember seeing the original Rambo when he went up into the mountain? Like, you know what I'm saying? He was completely justified. He had been wronged, but he was in uh, a different type of mindset, right? It was no talking him down off of that hill. This is what we're seeing from Hollywood. So let's talk about Blue, and I'm gonna let you guys go. So Ralph, Angel, and Darla are on their honeymoon. Beautiful honeymoon. And Darla outdid herself. Her and Ralph Angel really enjoyed each other, really enjoyed their trip. And then this Floyd thing breaks off. And then Hollywood calls Ralph Angel. And Ralph Angel hadn't seen any of it. He's on his honeymoon. Well, Ralph Angel pulls it up on the TV. Mind you, they're replaying it on a loop. And Ralph Angel breaks down. He is in tears. It is heartbreaking. Ralph Angel represents just the heartbreak and the realization of the reality that we live in, right? Hollywood is angry and wounded and changed in this way. And Nova is present. Her pain and anguish has a hair trigger. It's outside of her body. You get what I'm saying? Like, you can taste it. Her demeanor, her mannerisms, all of that. She's giving it to Calvin. She's giving it to Chelsea. It's this coldness. She's dropped the temperature in that house a couple of degrees. It's right on top of her skin. You can smell it. You can feel it. You can taste it. Sets the hair on the back. Like, she is upset. And then Micah is outraged. He is moved, right? To act out. Ralph Angel is heartbroken. He is heartbroken. They're gonna cut the vacation, the honeymoon, short. And then he changes his mind and he says, no, let's not go back and deal with it now. We've got 2 more days. Let's just stay for a couple of more days. But Darla wants to go back. She wants to go back because she's got a little black boy at home. And all she wants to do is hold her baby. All she wants to do is see her baby, right? She's not sure by him being so bright and so aware if he has seen anything. Now he's staying with Hollywood and Vi Prosper. She's not sure. She thinks that they're keeping him from the TV, but she's not sure. But you know, kids always be lurking, and always be listening. So, um, they agree. They go back. Now, on the way, they stop and get gas, and there's this whole moment where this white person says to them, "Black lives matter, all lives matter." It's this whole stupid moment that we also saw play out, where a lot of white people were feeling guilty, indignant, and defensive about the behaviors of their own people, not just in 2020, but down through the generations, and was taking it out on black folks and Hispanic folks and Asian folks. Yeah, anybody that's not like you. Let's not forget, we locked babies in cages, right? And went right on about our day. Went right on about our day. We still had our Christmas celebrations and holidays and all the lovely things, right? While children lay in cages, right? So, um, and they get home. Ralph Angel, sent him on his way. Ralph Angel wrapped him up in a nice little bow and sent him on his way. You know what I'm saying? Didn't even engage in it, all of that. We ain't finna go back and forth. Get your gas, get in your truck, and beat it. And it was a good moment. But then they get home and they're talking to Blue. And he wanted to know why they come home early. And he said, "Well, we miss you." Says, she says, and it's a lot going on out there, so we wanted to all be together as a family. And then Ralph Angel starts to talk to him. And Blue is like, "I don't even want why. I'm not sure. I don't understand." Asking about Black Lives Matter. He knew a little bit about it. And but he didn't know everything that had been going on. But he knew that it was something happening, right? And Ralph Angel starts to explain it to him. And in the moment that Darla wanted to stop him from going too far, from telling this little black boy too much, he looks at her and says, "It's time." Man, when I tell you that sent shivers up my spine, it did. It really did. And now I realize why he was heartbroken. Not just from seeing this man take his last breath on live TV, on air, nationally being viewed, but he's heartbroken because he's got to usher his son out of this childhood place immediately and bring him into the light so that he'll know how to govern himself. And I know what you're thinking. He doesn't have to tell this little boy. He's just a baby. But so was Tamir Rice. So was Tamir Rice. He has to tell him. And he does. And he tells him, if you ever stop by the police, he said, "I know you're going to be scared, but don't run. Don't run. Whatever you do, don't run." Still don't matter, but this it may save your life, right? And he told him, "Call mom and dad. You get something happens, call mom and dad." And it was this moment. I mean, Blue was crying, Darla was crying, Ralph Angel was crying, I was crying, because Even when they're 30, even when they're 40, they're considered a kid. Ours could be 8 and considered 18 or 16, right? It is a system that is set up that into a place where you cannot run, you cannot hide. You are damned if you do, you are damned if you don't. You are cornered. There are no choices. There is no out. And this is my frustration. This is my frustration with the God that I serve. I just wish he would do something for us. I wish he would help us. Anyway, so that's actually how it went off. It went off. It's very sad. Next week is going to be that much worse. I'm sorry I held you guys for so long. But anyway, I hope you guys see my heart for this episode. I hope you guys understand where I'm coming from. I hope that you share also your fears, your hopes, your concerns in this situation. It helps to know that you're not the only one that struggles. I really struggle. I really struggle. I got 2 brothers, my nephew, my dad, and I really struggle. I do. Just to stay upbeat and to stay positive and not to judge with a broad stroke. I struggle. It is an everyday struggle for me. Today's devotional was about scandalous forgiveness, and I didn't allow myself to go there, but I struggle. You guys tell me what you think. Please put it down below. And until next time, honeybees, I'll holler. Y'all pray for me, okay? All right.